I do, and I did not do anything there, so I'm not gonna
Okay.
take blame.
We are recording.
So we're ready. Okay, I'm sorry, do we have a motion to enter into open session?
Yes.
We already did that.
You did that? Okay,
Yep.
sorry, I wasn't there. All right. Okay, so we are now at agenda additions. Are there any agenda additions for this evening's meeting?
Are we sure don't have anybody that wants in to the meeting before we proceed? Are we good?
I'm looking at participants at 24, and I don't see any
In the waiting room?
in
Okay,
the waiting room at all.
all right. Sorry.
I have a couple of additions and one minor change, if we might.
Okay,
First, on the resolutions, we have resolutions 32 and 33. I would just like to reverse those in order. I think we need to pass the water rate increase first and then do the intent for the capital improvements. That was the reason we held off on that before, just to make sure we have the water rate increase passed. And then I would like to add, in our engineering report, there's a recommendation for a change order for the phase 1 contract with John Henry. I would like to include that in other, and also approve the payment to John Henry for the invoice that's recommended by the engineer to pay. I'd like to get that added under other, so we can approve those and get John Henry paid before the end of the year. So I think we have a deadline on the USDA grant on that. I think that runs out December 31st of this year. So we need to have that closed out. So since we're not meeting again this year, I'd like to get those payments authorized. So if we could add those. And then one other item, I don't know if you have the information. We had talked about the Wilbur Township Fire Service. I see there's an amount in the budget for that. If we have the information, if we can add that to the agenda to approve the Wilbur Township Fire Service, or
I don't believe that we have that readily available to
okay.
add.
All right, well,
And-
I do not.
okay, well, maybe we'll have to hold off on that till our meeting in January.
Okay,
And I did want to just talk a little bit about the possible township hall closure. There's something on here later under other for state of emergency discussion. I guess it can fall under that, I guess.
okay.
So-
And just for clarification, Bill, when you're saying swap E and F, you're just meaning like pass resolution 2020-33 first and then go on. So just E and F, you're not talking about switching like the resolutions themselves.
No. Just the order that we proceed on them.
Okay, all right. And in regard to the question about the other for row engineering, it was Mitch and I had this discussion earlier, and our thought was that because we have the update from row, that they could make the recommendation at the time that they're on the agenda to do those two things for this meeting. If that's
Okay.
okay with the board.
It's just what is the procedure? I know in some places when they allow the engineer to do that, they'll act upon those items inside of his report. And some people want to break it out. So I guess it's however the township is usual.
Yeah, we've normally had those as separate items for approval by the board, but
Okay, all right. That's good to know. Thank you.
Is it, that being said, is it okay to keep them in the project updates, just so we're not keeping maybe Rick on the phone longer than what he needs to be?
that's fine if the board wants to approve them after his recommendation, sure.
Okay. right, were there any other, so basically then that would kind of table the need to add that under other for row. So we're just looking at the switching of E and F. Any other agenda additions?
If I could add one item, I don't think it's an action item, but I guess when I get to it, I'll let the board decide. And it's a refund, a tap fee refund issue. If I could add that under other number 9.
Okay. And that was that's a water main tap refund, right?
That is correct.
Okay,
Well, water and sewer, so.
right. Okay, I'm sorry, did I hear something else? No? Okay, so with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda with additions.
Or
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Cummings, I think, got there before you did, Ms.
That's right.
McGuire. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer? Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester? Yes. Ms. McGuire?
yes,
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. Now we are to the public hearing section of the agenda. I need a motion to open the 2021 budget presentation.
So moved.
Support.
All right, so I believe that motion was by Mr. Palmer. So
Yes.
was that correct? Okay, support by Mr. Westerbarth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
yes,
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes. All right, motion carried. All right, so we are now open for the 2021 budget presentation that has been advertised in the paper, this public hearing, and I apologize again that we were late opening this meeting due to some technical difficulties. So sorry to keep people on the line that Zoom, that came in at 7. Sorry to keep you waiting. But we are now open for any questions in regard to the 2021 budget. So, Mr. Mitchell, if you could look to see with the participants, if anybody has a raise hand feature.
I'm attempting to.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's,
That's okay.
I'm really glad that you're doing it instead of me, but it is.
Um, well, okay. Patience, sorry.
Hmm? Oh,
I raised my hand on there, Mitch, so you could see what it looks like, just in case.
Thank
You don't need to call on me. I'm just as a
Oh.
reference for you.
Thank you. I am scanning right now. I do not see anything. And I will scan back up.
and then I believe if people are calling in, I forgot what the key is on that, sorry.
Let's see.
Sometimes I can put in a chat.
It would appear, and I could be wrong, but it would appear that only 2 board members are dialing in by phone at this time.
Okay, but I mean, we have no Right,
for me.
yeah,
Yeah,
but we
I
don't,
come in as a separate a cell phone number.
but we don't have
One
any
of them was
public.
your name, was the birth.
I don't show any, I show everyone else either by video and or audio via computer or other.
Oh,
Right.
gotcha. All right, so they'd be able to do that. All right,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So I guess, hearing no comment or questions, we can, is there a motion to close the public hearing for the 2021 budget?
Are
Is
you
this-
sure that you unmuted all the people on the phone so that they could have that they could speak if they needed to? I see
Yep.
that Mr. Haley is on the mesh on the is on this evening, and he's usually got something he'd like to say.
But he's on with a computer sign in, not a phone number, so he should be able to raise his hand,
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. My bad.
I believe, because his name
Yeah.
is on there, like he's on logged in that way, so.
I think Greg Schultz is on a phone.
Greg Schultz. I've clicked and asked to unmute if he wishes to.
No, I don't,
No.
I think in the past, Brett, whether Brian's been on a phone or not, he's been able to get through, so.
So I just wanted to make sure that he got his opportunity.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not hearing anything, so.
All right. Well, I guess I move to close the public hearing and move on.
All right,
You have one raised hand that I see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Right now I do. And that would be, what, I don't know.
This is Kathy Woosterbarth.
It's under now need our water. Am I
That's
correct?
right.
Okay,
That
thank-
is right. Yes, this is my account. But so yes, Kathy Woosterbarth, 7270 Shoreview Drive. Regarding the budget for 2021, I do want to make a note that I personally attempted to look at the health plan and the benefits for the township and the township employees, and it's a significant portion of the budget, I believe, in upwards of $300,000 to $400,000. I do believe that this needs to be looked at for following years. In the past, I have attempted to ask the township about this expenditure related to the plan that they've chosen, which is a 90% plan. The township is paying for the family. From my understanding, they pay for family coverage. And most employers do not extend this sort of benefit to their employees. So us as as taxpayers, we're funding this, which may be appropriate in some companies, but I believe that in terms of our township, we need to be fiscally responsible with these dollars, and we need to really look at the health plan for next year. We've budgeted here in this year's budget, but if we could look at it for next year, I would appreciate the board considering that.
okay, thank you, Kathy. Are there
Thank
any
you.
other raised hands? No?
I do not see any.
Okay, well, and we apologize for not seeing your raised hand, Kathy, if there was a delay there. So we do then, I believe we're all set then on public comment. We had a motion from, I believe, Mr. Spencer, support from Ms. McGuire. to close the public hearing on the 2021 budget. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards?
Yes,
And
Okay.
who made that motion and support? Sorry, I did not catch that.
that's okay. It was a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire.
Thank you.
All right, so now moving on to the consent agenda. This evening, we have approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of November 23rd. We have work session meeting minutes of December 2nd, closed session meeting minutes of December 9th. And then under finance, we have payment of bills, a totaling of $312,448.19 on a couple of prepaid runs. The first prepaid one was December 1st, $9,672.12. The other prepaid was December 8th, or I think it was actually the 10th that it was run, but that was $15,629.21. And then we have the requested check run for this week in the amount of $287,146.86, as well as the presentation of the fund summary report dated December 3rd. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda or any questions or discussion?
I have a comment on the payment of bills.
Okay,
It's more, and I've spoken with Ms. McGuire about this. It's more of not a payment of bills, but a bill that's not included. And that is the repayment to Oscoda Township for an overpayment that they made, that the former board approved of in the amount of $77,000 and some change. And that needs to be done before the end of the year, so that we can get that on our budget, so that it is reflected in the ending fund balance, and then subsequently the beginning fund balance for 2001. So Ms. McGuire, I talked about that earlier, and I think she is going to make that payment. It has been approved by the board. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware that we will be making that. And Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anything else you need to add to that.
No, actually I delivered the check today in person, so it's already
Oh.
done.
Okay, very good, very
Yeah.
good.
Just so the board's aware and the public, it was approved at the previous meeting. Before some changeover and stuff in the narrative from the previous superintendent, it said that we needed to create new line items in the general ledger to be able to process the refund. But Bill and I actually both had the same thought about why do we need to do that? So I reached out to Cindy Scott at Stevenson and Company, our auditors, and she confirmed what Bill and I both thought, is that we could just write the check right back out of it because it was the same fiscal year. So that's what I did, and the check's been delivered.
thank you. Thank you, Jill, Bill, for pointing that out, and thank you, Jamie, for taking
Yeah.
care of it. I'm
Thank you,
sure
Bill,
it's
for
not-
catching that.
Yeah, I'm sure Oscoda Township is thankful as well.
They are
Uh-huh.
very thankful.
Okay, so any other discussion, or do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a
make a
motion to, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
All right, so motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Palmer to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, now on to subcommittee reports and project updates. First that we have is our update from Row Engineering, along with a couple of recommendations for payment. Again, moving forward, we will break those out into, the other category. But for this meeting, we will include it in Rick's presentation to us. So Rick, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, engineering report for December 2020. Phase 1 water main assistant, all of these services have been completed by John Henry in the field.
Maybe in the public comment, you might want to clarify.
And he's completed that work.
Don't
He's
cover families or
finalizing
spouses.
some,
Uh-huh.
Typically, that's not true. They
Steve,
have coverage,
I
but
just want to
there's
interrupt.
usually
Steve,
copay of premiums.
Steve, Mr. Westerbarth, we're broadcasting throughout the meeting.
What's that?
I just wanted to.
Hold on. I thought I had this off just a second.
Okay, all right. Okay, sorry about that, Rick. Go ahead.
oh, that's fine. Phase 1 water main services are complete in the field. John Henry is, he's doing some minor work separately with Jeff Moss at Whispering Woods on Rose Lane, but as far as the township's portion, it's complete. In your packet tonight, you should see that to close out the project, we have a recommendation for an increase, change order number 2 to his contract in the amount of $2,500. And what the background on that is similar to his work last year. We had a base cost for the water services of $4,400 for each property. He was able to complete the service at 4287 Bissonnet for that $4,400. But the property at 4311 Bissonnet required an additional 340 feet of board service lead. And in his price, he had included that at $20 a foot. So that is the difference that we would need to have board to take action on tonight. Change order number 2 in the amount of $2,500 to change the overall contract, including last year's work, to a grand total of $202,570.
Okay. We should probably address these as you present. Would that be helpful?
Yes, because then the invoice, then the next one will be to, includes that $2,500 increase.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve a change order number 2 in the amount of $2,500.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, motion by, I believe, Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, your voice and Steve's voice sound a lot alike on this. Mr. Palmer, and support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please. You're muted.
Who is? Ms. McGuire.
Yeah.
Mr. Westerbarth.
Yes.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Mr. Cummings.
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is Rowe Professional Services Incorporated recommends that the Township Board approve John Henry Excavating Incorporated's invoice for $119,650 as I said, to complete the work of the Phase 1 water services. Included in your packet shows the breakdown of that invoice. The $97,650 for Whispering Woods. What was included in the original contract to complete that hookup on Rose Lane. And then, as I just described, the property at 4287 Bissonnet came in under his initial change order or bid. And then we had an additional $2,500 for 4311. So Again, grand total of $119,650 to approve John Henry Excavating Incorporated's invoice.
And Rick, this is Bill.
Yes.
This is Bill Palmer. Will that close out phase one then for us?
Yes, that will close out phase one. There's a little bit of paperwork that Doug Moen and I have to finalize for the township's records. But yeah, essentially with John Henry, it's all closed out. With us, it's closed out. And again, it's just basically crossing the Ts and dotting the Is on the individual properties and having Doug sign off on it. And then I think he returns those to the clerk's office, I believe.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we get John
Yes.
Henry. He does such good work for us. Any project that he's been involved with has been just fantastic. We've had emergency situations in the past where he's come in and helped us out, and has always been fair with his prices and does excellent work. So I would like to make a motion to approve payment of the invoice from John Henry Excavating in the amount of $119,650 for the phase one project.
I'll support that too, but I do have a couple other questions for Rick.
Okay. Can we go, you want to ask those questions before we do a roll call then?
No, it doesn't. That's fine.
Okay, doesn't pertain. Okay. All right. So motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire to pay John Henry Excavating. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes. Motion carried.
So Rick, is this going to be grant money that's going to be used for this that we'll be sending in? So approving this payment tonight, then Tammy and Mitch would send that information over that we approved the change order and the payment and over to USDA to tell them, okay, we've approved the payments, send us the money to be able to pay these payments?
No, this does not go to USDA. This is that MEDC administered grant.
Okay,
That was that special appropriations. It came in two pieces back in mid to late 2019, I believe.
okay,
So that it's that MEDC one, which I believe the process is, and I've got the contact person in my file, but I don't have it in front of me.
okay,
So if you're missing that, just let me know and I can get it to you. But you basically just have to, I believe, show them that you've received the invoice and that, and then they will reimburse the township. And I think it was Mr. Palmer that mentioned it earlier, the deadline for that, which we had gotten an extension for, but the deadline is the 31st of December of this year.
okay.
So
So,
we
okay,
can under the wire on that one.
right.
Yeah.
So basically, we pay them and then we submit to MEDC to ask for reimbursement of what we've paid.
That's correct. And I think it was almost, I think in the past, Mr. Schaefer and stuff, I think in working with Tammy and what I think almost did it simultaneously as far as paying the contractor and asking for reimbursement. So,
Okay,
Thank
but if
you.
you're, like I said, if for some reason you're missing part of that file as far as who you need to reach out to, let me know and I can get you the contact person.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Moving on, I'm just gonna break, you have the report in front of you. And like I said, any things that I brush over relatively quickly and any of the other items, you can just feel free to ask any questions. Future water main phases and the sanitary sewer system improvements. That's basically the ECWAG, which the township was approved, their ECWAG application, your ECWAG application has been approved. But there's just no appropriations yet of funds from the federal government. As soon as that comes in, that would be the $1 million grant to take on Phase A in Woodland. The other phases, B, G, portion of F41 and C is all taken care of as part of the DWRF funding. And later your resolution of notice of intent covers the next step in the process for the DWRF and SRF application process. Still chasing after various specific funding opportunities for the township as they arise. We have explored the $500 million initiative by the governor's office for services and DWRF portions of that funding through that. And we'll be submitting that application here shortly. And again, based on the disadvantaged community status of the township, that looks very favorable. We did submit on the Michigan Department of Agriculture Rural Development Grant for potentially helping out with a local match on Phase 3 trail. Moving on, the old orchard shoreline erosion. We did negotiate with John Henry Excavating, and we were able to get a cost savings from his initial bid of $11,000. And that is still being considered by the township as far as having the funds in place to award that contract in 8. Phase 3 trail project, I believe included in your packet is an updated spreadsheet that just currently shows where the funding portions are on that. For the new board members, and like I said, I'll open it up to questions, is far right column and then down at the bottom in red. Far right column is taking the project from Foot Village, Railroad out to the campground entrance. And then the remaining funding opportunities that we're pursuing to finalize that out and stay on schedule with getting this out for bid in 2021 and construction in 2022. So essentially that's my report. Again, if there's any questions on specific to any of these items, I can answer those questions now or.
I guess I had a question on the Old Orchard Campground
Yeah.
dock erosion. I think, were you making a recommendation tonight? Because I believe we're wanting that to deal with that now.
I will pass it on to the superintendent. The question was whether there was funding in place. I mean,
Gotcha. Okay.
the recommendation is to award it to John Henry for his revised bid of $177,750, but I was not sure if the township had the funds in place yet to act on that tonight.
Okay, then there's no problem with delaying into January?
No, I mean, obviously we would, I say we, the township, obviously Al and Gary and stuff would like to get it moving as quickly as we can, just so that take into account the weather that we're having. I mean, you guys got a little bit more snow up there than what we did down here, but he could still mobilize and get this thing wrapped up well in advance of the spring season. So January should not be an issue with that.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions of Rick? By the board? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, Rick, for your information.
And I will stay on if anything else comes up.
You're more than welcome to, or yeah, if you want to bail, that is fine as well. It's up to you, but thank you. All right, so next on the agenda is the update from Fnv Operations. I believe I saw Kath on the line.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So in the board packet, there are actually 3 reports. We had submitted some, and I think one meeting was canceled And also, maybe one was submitted a little late for the board packet, but there are 3 of them in the board packet. The one that is most recent is on page 243 of the board packet, and that's the November operating report. Currently, we are at $5,500.92 in the maintenance allowance through November. And that information is included in the board in that report. And also a tabulation of the work orders completed so far for the year 2020. For those who are new board members, I'm happy to answer questions. That summary table has proven to be helpful, I think, for a lot of folks to be able to see exactly what we're working with as far as a lot of the work orders and service calls that we're making instead of trying to detail them out on a case-by-case basis. We did have a water main break on November 3rd on Washington, and that was a result of a water corporation ban that had failed and was leaking. And because that line had lost pressure, we issued a boil water advisory to those businesses and residences that were affected and went through and flushed the system and performed back-T testing, and those came back okay, and then we were able to lift that boil water advisory. Been working with meter and water service installs right along as people are hooking up with in the affected area, the PFAS affected area. And this is the time of year we start to see a lot of residents fleeing for warmer climes. And we had 65 service calls in November to turn off water for seasonal residences for the winter. So were there any questions in regard to the operating report? I did want to mention additionally, and this is something that Fnv and also our engineering group have been working with the township for a little while now. I think it was 2018, Eagle, which was previously the Department of Environmental Quality, asked for testing to be performed on wastewater treatment plants, and in our case, for the township, the wastewater treatment lagoon, in regard to PFAS, and found that there was PFAS in the lagoon effluent. And so that investigation has been ongoing. And that is something that we are continuing to work with Eagle on and with the township. And I would like to, try to work with Supervisor Richards and Superintendent Mitchell and try to have a meeting to talk about that in a little more detail. But that's something that is definitely on the radar for Eagle.
Okay.
Does that potentially get us into, is there an abatement process in the future that we have to look at?
What they're working
Or is
with
it just
now,
tracking down the source?
it's more of a source tracking exercise. Right now, we had performed some sewer system sampling in various locations to determine if there were areas that we were seeing PFAS coming into the system. And right now, we have found, as would be expected, that there is some PFAS entering the sewer system in the area of the old Air Force Base, and especially in the airport area. So we are working with Eagle right now on some investigation with them and have talked to Coletta Air and done some site visits. But this is something that is going to, obviously be an ongoing process. And I just wanted to apprise the township that was going on. And we're supposed to be having a meeting, a Zoom meeting or a internet meeting with Eagle later this week. So hopefully I will be able to extend that invitation to Supervisor Richards or Superintendent Mitchell or both to join in on that meeting. And if you'd like to speak about what's been happening so far before that meeting, I'd be happy to get on the phone with you or on computer with you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kath. I appreciate that. I know either Mitch or I will reach out to you to set something up.
Great. Well, if you guys have no further questions, unlike Rick, I am not going to stay around for the whole meeting. So and hopefully someday I'll actually get to see everybody in person and have a Merry Christmas if I don't speak to you before.
All
Merry
right.
Christmas.
Yeah, thanks. And Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry
Yeah, same
Christmas.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bye.
Happy holidays, Kath.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. So moving on to reports, we have the superintendent's report this evening. First on his agenda is consumers, or his items is item A, consumers energy streetlight contract execution.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I was contacted by Consumers Energy regarding this project. This is a project that's actually already been installed along F41. Consumers Energy won't back invoice the township for these lights being up to this point in terms of usage, but they want to close this file out and get the paperwork closed out. So this is kind of a routine item. What I would recommend is that the board would make a motion to approve Form 547 as presented and authorize the clerk to sign on behalf of the township. And I'd also recommend that the board approve the resolution that is presented. After that's completed, consumers will begin invoicing the township for electric on those lights in 2021. Trying to pull those up for you right now. So that is the Form 541. And there is the resolution as part of Form 547, sorry.
Okay. Are there any comments? Questions?
I had a couple questions, and Anne, maybe you know, because this kind of goes back to the time frame. I think when you were here before with this project, I didn't think that the intention was for all those lights to be on F41 to the beach that close together. I thought that there was supposed to be more along F41 from Cedar Lake Road down the hill to or towards Northland Credit Union.
That project actually, I started the project, but then it totally evolved from what it started with. It started with just going to where the old base entrance was at Skeel. And then after I left employment, it grew larger. So in regard to spacing and so on, I really don't know. So
Okay.
I can't answer that. Although I would comment that the one area that I thought we were trying to illuminate is still not illuminated. And that is the entrance at Skeel Drive. There is actually no lighting right there. So.
And is that, for some reason, I remember a comment similar to that from Mr. Byer, and I thought it was that the light may have been burned out. But to be honest with you, I can't recall looking up and seeing whether there's a fixture there. Is the suggestion that there isn't a fixture, or that we're replacing the fixture to make it something operable?
Well, again, when I left employment after everything was like decided where things were going to go, but there was an old fixture that sat further back from that intersection. It was actually from the Air Force days. It just sat a little bit further back from the entrance, but there was nothing right at F41. So I had thought that's where the overhead, there was going to be some more overhead lighting there, because that's where we mainly got the complaints of people not being able to see,
right.
Coming to work earlier in the morning. So who came up with the spacing and so on? I mean, I'm assuming it was Casey. Casey is still with Consumers Energy. I would assume they did that proposal and somebody approved it, but because there's something attached there that has spacing and so on. But I can't speak to that.
Is this something that we need to look back on and verify that everything is correct before we close it out?
I think so.
I think so too. Yeah. Do we
So
have a time frame that this needs to be completed by, as far as consumers is concerned? I mean, is this something that we act on?
Well,
Yeah.
right. Well, it looks like back in September of 2008. Is that where? Yeah, September of 2018 is when the board approved, supported a motion by Ms. McGuire to pay $4,000 to Consumers Energy to extend the streetlights to Ratliff Park. So that was back in 2018 that we approved that, but we never paid for anything. Or we did pay for it, but we haven't been billed, I guess.
We have not been billed the monthly payment.
Right, so we paid for the
for the light.
installation, right, we paid for the installation, but not the use since September of 2018. So I'm guessing they would like us to do that sooner rather than later. And
That's
then, and then my thought is if we approved the installation, then somebody approved the locations.
Yeah, the
Or
previous
somebody-
board,
I don't know.
previous board approved this, the schematic that's included in the packet that shows where these lights
Right.
were going to be, and that was, that was approved. I believe that the idea what consumers mentioned was that along F41, just past Cedar Lake Road, that area which needed to be illuminated more, they were going to replace some of the lights with these LED lights as they were going out. They did include some of the LED lights in that area, but the light at the intersection of Skeel and F41 that Mr. Byard pointed out, he was referencing the traffic signal, the flashing light that was burnt out there, and it may be because of that traffic signal that they're not able to put a light, a lighting fixture right there.
Oh, I see.
So is this something that we just need to approve and get this done, and then maybe look at a different project to re-illuminate that intersection, or are we going to wait?
Well, I mean, I guess, my thought is that we did approve paying for the installation, which indicates that we agreed with where they were placed.
Right.
So if we agreed with that, then we need to pay the bill. So would be my thought.
Right. No, that's-
I would
And I
agree.
think
It
it's
sounds
great
like
that
they're not going to back,
Yeah,
they're not
sorry.
going to back
yeah.
bill us, but we need to start paying for the electricity that we're using.
Right.
Right.
And I guess on a side note, and I forget to look when I drive along there, are the old lights now no longer illuminated? That would be, I guess, another question. The old street lights, have those all been taken down? Because that's what the whole goal was, to replace. But we
Was
can
the
look-
was the removal of the old lights part of the contract as well?
No, two different, we owned those old lights. So that would have been something that DPW would do. But we were paying like a base use for those. So I'm
Gotcha.
assuming we're still paying for those, but it wasn't, when one would get hit by a car, it's not like when it didn't work, it's not like it decreased. It was just a set amount that we were paying. But we just,
Right.
it was a bad system that we couldn't fix. That's why we, the township went to this. So I guess we need to look back at that as well. But
Yeah,
Another
what we talked about before was removing all those street lights that were on the poles along the sidewalk there, because they weren't installed properly, and they need to be removed.
they're in the way for the guys plowing, and then but that's a different, those are ours, so it would have nothing to do with consumers besides the
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, that's not a consumer's issue.
Correct.
Right.
That's the
That's my
bill.
recollection as well.
Okay,
But-
so I guess I'm sorry, Jamie, do you still have additional concerns that you want to look into on this, or is there?
Yeah, I think that the lighting along Cedar Lake Road, and I thought that maybe we were talking about replacing them as they go out or that type of thing. I don't think that's gonna work because it's been a couple of years and the lighting there is terrible. And we have a lot of people that ride their bikes, walk to work, take their families down there. It's their only means of transportation, and it's dark. And let's face it, this part of the year, it's dark more than it's light when people are going to work and coming home and just traveling whenever. And I think it's just dangerous, and it's not good. We need to get it fixed.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, I would agree on that in regard to changing light bulbs, but it's almost like a different scenario than what we're looking at being asked to approve tonight.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I get that. I just, I was wondering, I thought maybe the schematics had changed from what we had originally talked about. I mean, I understand they're there. We have to pay for them. I get it. But
Right.
yeah, moving forward, we need to make it better. I mean, drive down there tonight and see. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, well, and it maybe, I mean, sometimes those light bulbs, they wait until they completely go out, but they're kind of a lengthy process, quote unquote, in phasing out. They get super, super dim before they completely go out. So maybe we can accelerate that replacement a little bit faster, for sure.
Right.
Okay, so is there a motion to, I guess, approve the contract then, and the resolution is presented by Consumers Energy?
Yes, I move that we approve the contract with Consumers Energy, and that and I think we should do that first separately from the resolution.
Okay,
Yes.
right, I think that was Mitch saying yes to do it separate. Okay,
Yep. Two separate items.
okay, so there's a
Support the motion, Tim, from Mr. Cummings.
Okay, motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Westerbarth to approve the contract with Consumers Energy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
and Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, now is there a motion to approve the resolution as requested?
Yes, I move that we approve the resolution as presented by Consumers and have it executed. It looks like it's not necessarily for supervisor and clerk, though. I think it needs to be signed by both, does it not?
Looks like just the clerk.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Is that sufficient in our township? I think is it okay to just have one?
It should be fine.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Then and to have the clerk execute the resolution as presented.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Sutton to approve the resolution. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. And we will look into that, that other component, Jamie.
Yeah.
Of the replacement lights for sure. Okay, moving on, item B, Baker Tilly engagement.
Okay, this engagement letter is for the financial advisory services on the 2021 fiscal year involving the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Drinking Water Revolving Fund. The amount for those services is shown. It's $22,000 for a single series of bonds related to the 2021 CWSRF and $14,500 for a single series of bonds related to the 2021 DWRF. I would recommend that the board make a motion to approve the engagement letter as presented and authorize Supervisor Richards to sign on behalf of the township.
Okay, do we have any comments or discussion?
I was just curious, is this being reviewed by our attorney?
Is he on?
He was on. I know we talked about it today at the legal meeting, but I don't know if he was reviewed.
Looking for him.
I don't know if he signed off.
He may have.
I'm not able, my computer bogs down. I can't even scroll up and down to participants, so.
Yeah. I don't see him on here anymore.
I do not either.
Well, I was just curious because I mean, it's called a letter of intent, but it's actually a contract. And this is for, what do you call, bond oversight, or there's a term for that, I forget. But they're providing that service for us as it relates to our bond issues.
Mhm.
That's true.
Is this something that we should postpone and make sure that legal counsel has reviewed it and approved it?
Yes.
That would be fine.
I move to postpone this item then.
Okay,
Support.
all right, so motion by Spencer, support by Cummings to postpone discussion of the Baker Tilly engagement letter. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, on to item C, second round tax foreclosure property refusal.
Those of you that were prior board members, you have remember that this issue has come before you once before. This is the next step in the process to basically, in a memo from the assessor's office, they're not aware of any benefit to the township of taking title to any of the properties which are listed. I would concur with that. A written objection from the township must be filed by December 30th, 2020. Otherwise, the township will be given these properties via a transfer of ownership effective December 31st of this year. I would recommend the board make a motion to reject all the tax foreclosed properties and to authorize a letter to be sent to object to the transfer of these properties to Oscoda Township.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question, more of a clarification. When it says that there's no benefit to the township, where does that term benefit? What is the scope of that word benefit here? Are we talking simply because it's not a a valuable property or something, or what is the term? What are we referring to here?
I don't think we have Nancy, her thought with benefit. For the most part, if it was a property that maybe was adjacent to one of our current properties, that it would be good to expand on, in that way, a benefit to the township to taking that on. These all are, I believe, lots in Lakewood Shores where you have, membership dues that would be
Oh,
necessary.
I see.
Yeah.
Now I
So
understand. Thank
there
you
would
very
be no
much.
benefit for us to it doesn't,
Take that
wouldn't be
off.
an asset for the community to try to then turn
I'm
around.
tracking. Thank you very much. Now I understand that better.
Okay.
And it seems as though this is something, Mr. Mitchell pointed out that this is something that we end up doing just almost every year, every other year. We get these properties and we have to turn them down, but we don't want to take possession. Like Ms. Richards pointed out, generally they're properties in Lakewood Shores. And so I would make a motion to approve the letter rejecting acceptance of all foreclosed properties as presented.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, I believe a support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, moving on to D, the HUSHRA 2021 budget.
And just a point of order, I have a question. We started at 5:30. Do we have to have a motion to extend the meeting because we've already been 2 hours and 45 minutes? Or does it start at 7?
That's a good question.
I think
Did
it
I
starts,
have an answer for it?
Starts at 7. This is a separate, that was a separate meeting.
Yeah, that was the closed session
Okay.
component. So I think we should be okay. I'll talk faster though. All right, so D, the HUSHRA 2021 budget proposal. Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, you have in the packet the proposed budget for HUSHRA, which was approved by the HUSHRA board at their last meeting. The Township would need to formally approve the 2021 budget as well. As you can see, our portion was $488,171, while the 2021 budgeted amount for that charge is $480,409. So this is a change from the current fiscal year, which is actually a reduction in the amount of $8,162 from the current fiscal year we're just ending. I would recommend the board would make a motion to approve the HUSHRA budget as presented and approved by the HUSHRA board.
Okay, any discussion? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Huron Shores Regional Utility Authority 2021 budget as presented.
Support.
Okay, Steve, was that you that supported?
That was me, yes.
Okay, sorry. Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, next on letter E, 2021 budget.
Earlier this evening, you had your public hearing. I did send to you, there was one person, a Jackie Gonterman. She had attempted to sign in and was not able to. So I did resend the information we had to get into the meeting. I was hoping she'd be back on, but she has not signed back in. I was hoping she might, and then maybe you could have at least caught her comment during that time. So you have the proposed budget. Oh, let me see if I can pull this up.
I'm sorry, just while you're looking for that, Mitch, did she indicate that that's what she was on to listen to? I think she's on the zoning board of or no, she's on the board of review. Isn't she, Jackie? Yeah, maybe she was just, chiming in for that.
She wanted to comment regarding the budget and was.
Oh, she did. Okay, all right.
So I tried to send her back the information to sign in again, but so far I have not seen her sign on again. So I wish she had and apologize for any technical glitching we're having. So we've had a night where one computer crashed for the host, and let me go back.
Yes, I'm looking forward to the day we can all meet in person so we don't have these issues.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I
So-
concur.
Yeah, so we have the 2021 budget as proposed, and we would ask that the board take the proper steps to approve the budget as presented.
I have a couple of comments on this. I think there's a couple of things that need to be changed so that everything falls in line here. In the 2021 proposed budget summary, we have the amount of $2,951,808. And also that number is in the resolution for the budget. I believe that amount for appropriation should be $3,218,334.76. as is shown on page 16 of the packet, I believe it is.
You repeat that?
Which part?
The amount?
The amount that should be on the summary report and the resolution should be $3,218,334.76, which is the amount that's in the proposed budget on page 16 of the packet, I believe.
Let's see, like,
Talking about resolution 2020-23 in the agenda later on.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, which you're saying that the general fund line item is incorrect?
Well, if you know, there's the proposed budget summary,
Mhm.
and it has in there, this is for General Fund 101, the revenue of $3,164,431, and then it shows appropriations of $2,951,808. And that same amount is in the resolution. But in the actual budget itself on page 16 of the document, and I believe that this amount is correct, it should be $3,218,334.76.
All right, is Tammy on the line?
he is.
She's on the call, but she doesn't have a mic. She can only type.
Oh, okay.
The problem with the
Tammy, are you
2
able to hear this?
What was that?
I said, Tammy, are you able to hear us?
I don't know if she's commenting. She would have to type in.
Yep.
Yes. So, I'm sorry, you started to say the problem is,
Well, the problem is in coming up with this 2.9 million, that takes into account and the funds where revenues are included with the appropriations in the funds. So it's a misrepresentation of what the actual appropriations need to be to pay for each one of the funds. And the $3,218,334.76 are the appropriations that are needed to pay the various items in the budget.
okay. No. Mitch has asked the question. I mean, obviously, these are the two that do the report and the resolution, so I really can't speak. Well,
Well,
I
I
can
have another
speak,
one,
obviously,
too.
because I just did, so.
I have another one to bring up as well. It caught my eye, I guess, just to verify, because we have the clerk and treasurer salary resolutions. And if I'm looking at page 8, which is kind of the summary, and the treasurer is in at 42,371, but the salary is going to be 49,522.38. But I don't think her deputy is included in that. And then I would ask that the clerk be looked at to make sure it's the proper salary, as it looks like his whole department is included, but I'm not sure of the salary makeup in that summary on page 8. Just doesn't make sense.
Bill, can you see the screen that I'm showing?
Yes,
Okay, is that the one you're referencing?
that is the page I'm referencing, yes.
Okay.
What caught my eye was the treasurer, but I don't think the deputy is in there. It looks like the clerk has the support functions and probably elections.
Well, the problem with that is in the fund for the treasurer, it includes the assessment fee that's collected. So it's including a revenue in that. And so when you add up, if you take away that revenue and you add up all the appropriations, then the appropriations are more like the clerk's office at 160,421. That's why the appropriations, that's why the overall appropriations for the budget need to be the 3,218,000 as opposed to the 2.9.
Okay, I see what you're saying, Bill.
Let me. Wait, listen, if I can put you on speaker, then I might be able to hear you. Yeah. That's fine. Hold on for a moment, everyone. Thank you. Tammy, can you start talking and see if they can hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And you,
What would you're
you
going to have to repeat because I'm trying to stay away from my computer so it doesn't get back feeding.
okay.
The concern was, or Mr. Palmer, a couple things. Mr. Palmer pointed out that the appropriation for the general fund was at like 29,51,808, but it should be a page that was referenced on page 16, 3,218,000 and some change.
Okay, so as far as I can gather, because I've never done this report before, ever. As far as I can gather, when those numbers go into the summary, it is revenues versus expenditures, like what is left after the appropriations are taken out, as from what I gathered going through that report, the budget report itself. Now, I could be wrong, but from going over and over it seemed to be the way that it was done.
Okay, and then the other question was, and I'm not saying that answers or doesn't answer your question, Bill, but then the other question was in regard to the salaries or the line items for both the treasurer and the clerk. Are we?
It's been answered.
Okay, gotcha.
Bill is correct. In the wrap up, if that number is changed,
Okay, all right.
Everything is inclusive. So Bill is correct. It forgoes my question. It's
Okay.
in the
So
revised number, or it should be there.
All right, so we're back to the other one.
Okay. I am looking at the budget for 2019, the same documents that Bill is talking about. And he's correct, that figure needs to match the one on page 16 in ours. And it has to match the appropriations for 101.
For the general fund?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think we can approve the budget with the changes, and we can approve the resolution with the change. It's just a changing the number in there. Everything's fine in there. Just we're not appropriate. The bottom line is in the summary. If you just look at the budget summary on page 8, that number, the 2951, that's not enough money to fund all of these funds. Is the bottom line. So
right.
If we change that to the 3218, will be all good.
Okay, all right, so we can make that change and then move forward with the budget then?
Sure.
Okay. Josh, are you?
Keeping up.
The change to the, yeah, are you keeping up over there? Is so the general fund changed, and sorry, I'm not looking at page 16. I can't read that screen and I can't magnify it as well.
Let's see.
That amount should be 3,218,000 and what?
334.76.
Hmm?
Yeah, 334.76.
Got it? Okay.
And that's
Right.
what's in the budget. That's the correct amount.
Right, it just somehow we got transposed in the.
Yeah,
okay.
what's in the summary and in the resolution are the numbers need to be changed to reflect that 3.2818.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion on the budget? Okay, thank you, Tammy, for calling in on that. And sorry to put you on
Not
the
a
spot.
problem. I apologize for not getting it right.
Well, sorry to put you on the spot as well. But okay, so if there's no further discussion, do I have a motion to approve the 2021 budget as presented with that change?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 proposed budget with the noted changes to the budget summary and the resolution.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, a support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to item F, non-exclusive easement agreement, Mission Street Treatment System Pipeline. We lose Mitch?
It would,
Oh,
went silent. I was wondering if we're still on.
There,
oh.
how's that?
There you go.
you're there.
Okay,
Good.
thank, all right. The easement agreement addresses a pipeline that was installed by the Air Force for the Mission Street pump and treatment system last year. Both the Air Force Legal Counsel and the Township's Legal Counsel have reviewed and found the easement as acceptable to act upon. This easement document will supersede and take the place of the non-exclusive easement agreement the Township executed in 2018, but that was not recorded because of issues raised by the county clerk's office. I would recommend that the board make a motion to approve the easement agreement as presented and authorize the appropriate signatures on behalf of the township.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mitchell, did you have a discussion with Mr. Gibson from the airport at all, or from the Air Force? I mean,
I have not.
okay. I
Because
was just wondering.
because
I was
this
just
is-
wondering if
Oh, go
we
ahead.
approve this easement, if they will start paying the fee for use of our storm sewer. They're supposed to be paying that, and for the Mission Street plant, and they have not been doing that, at least as far as I know.
Right, well,
Isn't this a source of contention as well?
mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, well, technically the easement was already signed. It just couldn't be recorded because of an issue that the county had. So, and because of the time frame to get it, we have to now change signators, being the new clerk and new supervisor. So, I mean,
Sure.
in theory, we've already signed it. Or not in theory, we did already sign it. It just couldn't be recorded because there was something wrong with, the county didn't like the format. So I had
So
to
it is as of yet unofficial.
it's not recorded in the register of deeds, correct? It's a, I mean, I guess in my mind, it's a, you know, quote unquote official we've signed, but it couldn't be recorded. But it sounds like we need to pursue the payment as well.
If you're referring to the 2420 payment, they have been paying that one, but there was the other payment that we instituted not too long ago. No, they have not paid any of those.
Right, that's for the Mission Street plant. They've never paid for that, and they've been using it for years.
Aren't they refusing to pay it?
Their comment is they're having their lawyers look into it. And they've
But
been
after all
looking.
this time, yeah, it's been a few years, and to the point, it's like, yes, it's refusing to pay after all this time, because I don't think the years are needed for an attorney to review the situation. I think they're taking advantage of the situation.
So would this easement that we're about to set up grant them the option to continue using it?
Well, I think they're two separate issues. I think we need to approve this easement. But it's just, I was curious if Mr. Mitchell may have talked to Mr. Gibson from the Air Force, and
I have not.
there was any mention of the fee for the storm sewer fees, but I believe it's important that we go ahead and approve this easement agreement, just to finalize that so it can be recorded.
Right. I mean, basically, we were provided the documentation right around November 30th. So just in an email format, like this has been worked on for a couple months by the previous administration and now needs to be executed. So we didn't really have any dialogue with anybody except for email.
Right.
In confirming with Mr. Uppert that he had reviewed everything and was good for us to re-sign and go on.
And the updating of the supervisor and clerk to the current.
Yeah.
Yep. Current players.
So I will make a motion to approve the non-exclusive easement agreement between the Oscoda Township and U.S. Air Force as presented, and authorize the township clerk and supervisor to execute all related documents.
Support.
Okay, we have we have a motion by Mr. Palmer and supported by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
No.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
No.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to G, Asable Shared Services Agreement revised.
Okay.
Right, it's that the shared service for the police service.
Yes. So this is an addendum to the contract between Oscoda and Osable Townships. There was an error in the last one presented, and that error has been corrected, as well as the signature lines updated to reflect current board members. I would recommend the board make a motion to approve the two addendums for shared services agreement and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign on behalf of the township.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news and questions here, but I think there's some problems with the wording in this contract addendum for both police services and between Oscoda and Osable for the fire and cemetery. If you look at the addendum for the police services, it has the amount of $313,245.24. Well, there's another 0.4 on there, but take that off. But then it also says payable in monthly installments of $34,248.04. Well, 12 payments of $34,248 come up to $410 $410,976.48. So I think what's happening here is that the 34,248 is the correct amount, but it also includes the fire and the cemetery, because if you take the amount from the fire department of 80,167 and you add the 17,564.62 from the cemetery, you get 97,776. Divided by 12 months is 8,148. And so if you add the 8,000, you to the let's see, where is it? If you take the 313,000, divide that by 12, you get 26,135 plus the 8,148 comes up to 34,283 a month. There's confusion in the language because in the other addendum, Oscoda and Asabo, it also has monthly installments of $18,818.86.
Okay. You're just the bearer of bad news tonight, Bill.
I know, I'm sorry, but I like numbers, and because numbers don't lie, and when I look at these things, they don't add up, and I have to throw it out there. I'm sorry.
These numbers are lying, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your numbers are accurate, Bill, the way you stated.
So there was an error in the last one presented, and now obviously there's errors in this one presented too.
I just checked the one from last year, and yes, that's correct. The number is not right.
All right.
So
I would recommend we remove this then from said consideration at this time. Even though it says commence January 1, let's not look at it until it's right. So.
okay, do I have a, is there a motion to, what would be? Postpone?
I move that we postpone this, these two Asabo shared services agreements until the contracts are revised.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Sutton. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
and Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to resolutions and ordinances. First one on is resolution 2020-23, which is the fiscal year 2021 General Appropriations Act. Which I can't find. And that is the one that we made the change to for the general fund revenue, correct? Bill?
The appropriations, not revenue. The appropriations should be the instead of 2.9 million, it should be the
Right. Yeah,
the
page 2.
3 million that's on page 16. Yes.
Right, okay. All right, is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I
Or is
move
there
that we
discussion?
approve resolution number 2020-23 with the said stated correction to the general fund of the, roughly speaking, 3,200,000 number.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
No, I did not support that.
Oh, sorry.
I think that was me.
Okay.
Bill.
Bill, okay, sorry. Motion by Bill.
No problem.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, and now on is resolution 2020-25, establishing the clerk salary. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion
to-
that we approve resolution 2020-25.
I'll second.
Support.
Okay, motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I said yes, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is resolution number 2026, establishing the treasurer's salary. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve 2020-26 for the treasurer's salary.
Okay, support?
I'll support that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is resolution number 2020-28, budget amendments for fiscal year 2020. Discussion or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-28 as it relates to fiscal year 2020 budget amendments as presented.
Support?
All right, that's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes. Okay, motion passed. All right, next on, we're gonna jump to resolution 2020-33, the water rate increase. Do you have a motion to approve or a discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-33 as it relates to the water rate adjustments as presented.
Okay, support?
I support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Palmer, a support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is resolution 2020-32. That is notice of intent to issue capital improvement bonds. Do we have a motion of support or discussion?
I'll make a motion to support 2020-32.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sutton and support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wishtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Last on the resolutions, we have resolution 2020-34, replacing the authorized representative for grant agreements and application. Is there any discussion or do we have a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve resolution 2020-34 as it relates to designating Superintendent Michael D. Mitchell as authorized representative as presented.
Support.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
and Ms. Richards.
Yes. Motion carried. So I guess we're still, it's 8:50. We're obviously not gonna wrap up by 9 o'clock. I mean, we've got a few things on the agenda. So do we need to do a motion to go over 2 hours?
We can wait and do that at 9:30.
I think we do it at 9:30.
9:30? Okay, cool. We'll do that. All right, so on to other bad debt write-off. Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, you can see we have, let me make sure I don't have, I've got it all. Yep, I do. You can see the amounts due, and the paperwork was in there. We are asking for a write-off in the amount of $392.51.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Why are we writing this off?
Basically, the property was sold at state auction. Therefore, the remaining debt we cannot collect.
We can't, it doesn't stay with the property.
No. It runs with the individual. And once it goes to state auction, all those liens and that come off.
But basically, we have no way to collect that other than try to go to court for $300 or $400 almost.
Right. And by the time you filed and
Right, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I move to go ahead and write that debt off then.
Support.
Okay, support by Mr. Spencer. I'm sorry. Motion by Mr.
Yeah.
Spencer, support by Mr. Cummings.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
and Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next on is the zoning resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
You can see we had a resignation of, if I butcher this name, I apologize right up front. Nita Wise, do I have that correct?
You do. Good
All
job.
right. Nita Wise, she hereby submitted her resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so we would ask that you would make a motion to accept that.
Okay, any discussion?
I would make a motion to accept that resignation and thank Nita Wise for her service.
Support.
Support with regrets.
Okay, was a motion by Mr. Sutton and support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on, we have a BSNA software purchase.
We did, oh, wait a minute. Do we?
We do. That's on the agenda.
Oh, it
didn't-
is, okay.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
all right. Let me try to
I
find.
believe that was for Ms. McGuire's office.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that new
email was sent
module
out
we
to
talked
the
about in the
board.
last meeting, right?
Yep.
Did your screen change? Are you seeing something that says cost summary?
Yeah, we're seeing some scary
Yes.
stuff. We better change it again. Just
Uh-oh.
kidding. No, we have the right thing on there.
So this is the proposal from BSNA
Mhm.
for that. And you can see in the cost summary, we have delinquent personal property. That's the application itself. And you can see it's $2,515. And then implementation and training, they estimate that it will be 1 day at $1,000 a day. And so that would be a total of $3,515. This is something that Treasurer that Jamie talked about at the last meeting about putting on for the 2021 budget, but we do have sufficient funds that we could expend in this fiscal year to purchase this module now in this fiscal year. And to me, it'd be great to have Jamie and them be able to use it from day one of the beginning of our new fiscal year.
I guess my only question is to Jamie, and do you still want it?
Yes, please. Actually, I have a little bit more background information here too. Thank you, Mitch, for being able to post that on there. Some of the things with this delinquent personal property that'll be beneficial to the treasurer's office is has an actual calculator to interest refund calculator for Michigan tax tribunals. And if you are familiar with the state of Michigan, you know how anything you do with them can be a handful. Multi-year tax notices it's capable of doing, pay multiple delinquent years with one check, which we have to hand enter everything individually right now. Write off collectible personal property taxes. As some of the previous board members are aware, this is all done by hand, and we only do it every so many years because it is quite the task to take on, but this will put all that stuff together for you in no time. Comprehensive audit trail, reminders, and a centralized administration database also. So, and it did also say that the annual service fee is $500, which is on the lower end for some of the modules that we already have. So I would appreciate the board's approval to be able to get this software system.
Well, I'll go ahead and toss the motion right out there that we approve this expenditure for this software module to be added to the BS&A package.
Support.
Hey, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on, we have the request to go out for bid for 2 patrol cars. Don't know how much more information besides what small amount in there, but
How many patrol cars do we currently have?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I'm sure we can get you the answer, but I don't know exactly how many are in service. I know that they're Mr. David is, they have a rotating, there's only so many miles they allow. They have a plan in place. We've been very successful with getting this USDA grant in the past to cover the purchase. So
That grant paperwork.
How much does it cover, actually?
it is in
Do we
the
know?
capital improvement plan.
Percentage-wise, do we know how much the USDA grant covers?
I do not know that question. I
I
don't
do
know if Mitch knows.
I do not. I just know that for them to even begin the process of even asking for the funds, they have to have your approval. That does not mean that you're giving approval to, in the end, if we receive the grant, but to even apply for it, they have to ask permission of the board.
Right. It is in the capital improvement plan for 2021. So again, that doesn't answer your question, Jeremy or Steve, into how many, but I'm assuming there was a formula that, has been presented and worked with Mark David and the former superintendent, that. And then Tammy just chimed in. I don't know if anybody saw the comment. Now I just lost it. I think it was like 55% USDA. It's in the chat comment thing.
Yeah, 55% USDA, 45% the township.
Right. So
Yeah.
pretty close to a 50-50.
Oh, I'm just looking this up right now in cash receiving, what we received in March of 2020 for USD grants for the police cars, we received 18,900.
That was for one car or multiple cars?
That's one car. They're about
Okay.
37,000.
Does this grant jail us to the type of vehicle that we can get for the police officers?
No.
We can go out and pick up whatever vehicle we deem necessary based on their recommendations.
They go
Right.
out for bids for, like, he specifies it here in the memo that's in the board packet for a Chevrolet Tahoe police pursuit vehicle.
2021. And generally, I thought they used that whole my bid. Is it my bid?
Yeah, the state
The
vetting
state's,
bidding process.
the state's procurement process, kind of similar to like what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the computer or the printer stuff. The state awards the low bid to a certain entity, and we usually utilize that. And that it says the grant application needs to be in before the end of the year for next year. Is what also Tammy chimed up with. We've been, I think the township's been successful each year, and
Yeah.
they've requested the grant funding.
They
I don't-
have been,
Yeah, I don't know if, is Jackie still the coordinator?
I don't know.
Jackie Morgan, she was there when I left the township, and she was a great facilitator. She almost like would find money for us. So I know she's been good to work with in the past.
We as the board happy with the vehicles that they've gotten thus far, the Chevy Tahoes?
I haven't
Hold
heard
on.
them say they don't like them.
I was just kind of hoping we could get them some Mustang Cobras or something, you know.
You gonna become a volunteer policeman or
boy.
what, Jeremy?
You're
Only for the
funny,
fire-
Chairman.
It's only for the fire department, mister. It's not for the police department.
Fair enough.
All right, is there a motion?
I so move.
Okay,
Support.
Support.
all right, motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire, I believe.
Mhm.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbuck,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Item 5, defined benefit plan adoption agreement addendum, police for the former
Yeah.
chief of police.
Josh, you're on, correct? You can hear me?
yes.
Do you want to talk about this? Since you've had the most interactions with the MERS. officials?
Yes, I knew that.
Thank you.
So this addendum is just a change in their paperwork. You used to pick plans based on an ABC type. So I did reach out to MERS and was able to use our custom page and outline what we currently have as an agreement. And I verified that with our police officers union as well. So everything's the same. It's just now going forward, MERS offers all of those custom options, and that's how they prefer to do it. Now, you will notice there are two here, one for our police department, and then the other one is for our past police chief, Levac, who has a retirement plan through there. And that one, simply the verbiage had to be updated, even though we don't use it for our chief now, and I don't know if we will going forward. But until he's done with his policy plan, that had to be updated as well.
Thank you for that, Josh. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the plan adoption agreement addendum as presented and for the township clerk to execute all required documents.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Palmer, a support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterboth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, now we are number 6, authorization for treasurer to prepay bills, December 2020.
since we won't be having a second meeting in December, we can prepay these bills, all the bills that will be coming in only with board approval. We can prepay bills on an off week, but we have resolution to do so only for certain bills. So that's why we ask the permission of the board to go ahead and pay them. All these bills will show up on your next board packet as a prepay. So you'll be able to look at them all individually still, and they will be approved again by the board at that time.
I would make a motion, we accept the authorization for the treasurer to pay those bills from the board.
Okay, I'll
Support.
support that.
Who's
Sorry, Ann, I had to get my name on there someplace. Motion by Sutton, support by Richards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on number 7, 2021 meeting schedule. I guess I'm just gonna throw this out there. Obviously, our dates are always the second and fourth Monday of the month. We've always started meetings at 7. I don't know, we've had some internal dialogue here between myself, the clerk, the superintendent, and I can't remember if another board member, but anyways, we were wondering about starting a little earlier, more like maybe the 6 o'clock timeframe, just keeping everybody a little bit more fresh. Sometimes 7 o'clock, people are starting to wilt just a little bit. And then we're asking people to attend. And if we go till 9, I mean, that's pretty late for conducting business. So I think our neighbor community, I believe they start at 5. But I don't know if that would be difficult. You know, there's some people, some board members that have other jobs. So don't know if 5 o'clock would be a good start time or not. So just kind of throwing that out there for a meeting time.
I think 5 o'clock's too early because people that want to come to the meetings, if we ever get to have them in person again, to be able to be there, you know, they can't get home from work and be able to turn around and get there. And I'd like to be able to give the public an opportunity to still be there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to that end, you know, getting out of work, I mean, they still have to eat and, you know, find some sustenance and then get ready to go to the meeting. I mean, it's been 7 for a long time. That works for me. I'd say leave it.
Well, any other thoughts? I mean, Jamie, you're indicating 5 would be too early, but you're saying maybe 6 would be okay. Any other thoughts?
This would be a push for me. I'm not gonna lie.
A push to start at 6?
Yeah. I have a 13-year-old dog at home that I have to go home, get him eat and be able to get him to go outside.
You have to eat as well. And yeah, there are 2 hours between the end of work and the start of the meeting is, I think that's appropriate, but.
And then the other point is if we have a closed session, if our regular meeting starts at 6, that means our closed session would start at 5 or 4:30, or, I mean, that would be a little, that could be a problem. I think we've had the 7 o'clock, time, like Jeremy said, for a long time. I'll go along with whatever the board wants to do, but I think, you know, we've had the 7 o'clock for a long time. It seems to have worked for the community and.
Okay, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Sure.
If there was an overwhelming feeling one way or the other, and it looks like it's the other possibly. But Mr. Cummings, we haven't heard anything from you or Mr. Westerbarth.
I'll speak then. Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking I might go either way. I mean, for me, 6 o'clock might be a bit of a push. Sometimes I'm on calls for the West Coast, and that would be a bit of a cramp for me because for them they're still working into their afternoon. But you know, I want to hear what everybody else had to say. I guess having heard that, I would more inclined to just stick with 7.
I guess my thought is I have a lot of calls that sometimes go till 6 p.m. So that's going to be tough. I'd prefer 7.
All right, well, it's definitely an overwhelming consensus to stay at 7. So I think we're good there. So we'll leave that. So that being said, is there a motion to approve the public announcement as presented?
I'll make a motion that we approve the scheduled board meetings for 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on number 8, declaration of local state of emergency discussion.
Okay, this is more, I guess, informational at this point. The state, at the state Senate level, had taken up a bill, but the state House, as of 9:10 p.m. today, I have not heard that the state House is even going to meet yet this year to even discuss the extension of virtual meetings into 2021. In looking deeper into how do you declare a local state of emergency, we are under 10,000 population in the township, so we cannot declare a local emergency. It would have to come from the County Board of Commissioners. And in my inquiries last week, I have heard nothing from them that would say that they were considering a declaration of a local state of emergency to allow for virtual meetings into January. So that said, unless some state or county action is taken, we will have to have a meeting somehow in person in January.
And I think you wanted to tag on to this a little bit, Bill, in regard to the township
Yeah.
hall.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. Because since we're not meeting again, the rest of this month, we're scheduled to be, the township hall to be closed through the 20th. But I would like to give, the board to give Mr. Mitchell some direction in case the state decides to continue the shutdown through the end of the month, or however long they see fit to extend the current shutdown that they have in place. And so I would like the board to approve continuing the shutdown of the township hall if there's a change by the state health department in the requirements. And I think it's important. I saw Mr. Mitchell's schedule for staff. I really think it's important to have the employees and staff that are able to work from home do so. There's a lot of things involved with them actually, even though the public's not coming into the township hall. They're all using the same bathrooms. Well, not the same bathrooms, but I mean the men's end. Hopefully none of that's going on. I'm not in there, so I don't really know.
There's craziness down here.
The doors are locked, so I guess it's a free-for-all in there
Right,
now. But there are concerns. The intent of the regulations were to have everyone that can work from home do so, and those that need to come into the office and I think the clerk and the treasurer's office have worked out their schedule to be able to do that. And I think the schedule that Mr. Mitchell has put together, I don't know. I think the executive secretary could work from home every day, but she's willing to come in 2 days a week. I guess that's okay. It's just, it's a concern for me that, people might have a problem. Because once you come into the building, you're kind of, even though you don't visit one another's office, but I know, past practice, you do go to different offices and speak with people. So this darn virus is such a complicated thing. Each person has exposure to other people, and then you bring all that conglomeration into the mix. So you have a lot of different things going on. But I just wanted to have the board give approval to Mr. Mitchell to extend the closure of the Township Hall if the continuation by the state is held past the 20th.
Is this something that we should look at as a board and set policies surrounding pandemics and whatnot for future reference?
Well, there was a policy and procedure that was put together when this started way back in, I don't know, March or April. So we do have that policy, and part of that was to have, as was required by the state, to have all employees that could work from home do so. And
Right.
I think that's important.
But so you want us to put a motion before the board to make sure that policy is enforced?
Well, my point is that if we were the extension the state put on was till December 20th, and so we made our motion to correlate with that. What I would like to do is have a motion that we would extend that closing to any other deadline, possibly to January 11th, if there's an extension by the state. Now, if the state doesn't extend the restriction after the 20th, then I guess we can, get back to normal. But but since the board isn't meeting again, I'd like to have some clarification so Mr. Mitchell can proceed with what needs to be done with, having employees stay home and closing the Township Hall through the end of the year if necessary. Because we don't know what the state's going to do. That's the problem.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, I guess I would make a motion that we authorize the superintendent to adjust according to the state's determination that happens after December 20th. So to coincide with that.
Yeah, and I would support that motion.
Okay. All right, motion by Miss Richards. Sorry, I forgot my own name. Support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards.
Yes, and I just would make a note there that I am very appreciative to all the staff, employees that, obviously there's a lot of people working from home. They will continue to work from home if they have the resources to do so. But then we are also having them come in a couple days here and there, and everybody's practicing, the safe guidelines. But the closure to the public, we've been answering questions through windows and still servicing the public as well. And I think that's only fair. I would note that Ms. McGuire has to open by law a couple days at the end of December, and we have posted that. So, but they will be it'd be very reduced access to the building. Correct, Jamie?
Correct. Yes, correct. They're going to only be able to get to my door and that's it.
Right. So, anyways, we are taking this very serious, and everybody in the building is, working hard to stay positive and work with the public as well, because the public, some of those public people are still going to work at Dollar General and Burger King and all those places, and they need to, have their resources with us as well, although we all need to remain safe. So, thanks to the board and thanks for the employees for that.
Thank you.
And I guess agenda addition was number 9, water main tap refund.
Yes, let me see if I can pull this up. for everyone. Hang on just a moment. There we go. Can you tell me what your, do you see a screen that says Georgia Street Apartments? Probably not.
Right now, no, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, let me talk it through then.
Okay.
In regards to the Georgia Street Apartments, and I think Mr. Freeman's probably still on the line. The tap-in fees that were given for those utility connections for water and sewer, they were paid in the amount of $34,468. In review of this process, it was found that this amount is actually incorrect, and that what the correct amount should be is $11,395.92, which is a difference to the developer of $23,072.08. And so I did contact Mr. Freeman, and we did relook at this, how the tap-in fees were calculated, and found the error. And I also contacted our auditor and asked about the best process on how to correct this situation. And what we will do, and again, this is where I'm not sure if I need board approval or not, because in my mind, this is kind of like doing it right, is just doing it right. The developer's previous payment that they made in September of 2019, which again is the $34,468, that the township will refund that amount, and the developer will cut a new check for $11,395.92, which is the correct amount for two 2-inch indirect water service tap-in fees, two 2-inch by 27-inch by 60-inch with bypass meter pit price, two 2-inch Mach 10 ultrasonic meter price, and one 8-inch indirect sanitary sewer lead tap-in fee. And that's how that we came up with that calculation, the correct calculation of $11,395.92. Again, I'm not super certain whether I need a board approval to basically make a correction of something that should have been done the right way in the first place.
I believe something of this size, you absolutely need board approval.
All right, well, and that's why I kind of brought it here. So I would ask that you would concur with my recommendation that we make a refund, a check cut to the developer in the amount of $34,468, and that we will now new bill for $11,395.92.
I guess I just have a question: is how did we make the error? Because those fees are spelled out by size of pipe.
Right.
And
Well, a little
just
bit
a
of
question.
Right, for sure. Basically, it was a misread on the ordinance. There's a chart that indicates when you connect on the water, there's and we can send this information out, but there is an indirect fee chart, and a direct fee chart, which is another discussion all in itself in regard to how you come up with whether it's indirect or direct. But you have the size of the water line or the tap, and then there's a line for ratio, and then you have the water connection and the sewer connection. Basically, it was misread in the sense that instead of going straight across saying it's a 2-inch water line, which is a water connection tap fee of $1,468 and a sewer connection of $2,000, it was interpreted that you're supposed to drop down on that size to an 8-inch to say what the sewer is. and that's not correct. You go straight across. So that's where the error was. And then in just further, a little bit more explanation, back in September, actually one connection was made. So one connection was made then, and now there is additional connection, and Mr. Palmer can confirm this. They just approved it at the Planning Commission, but there's a second connection, another 2-inch off of, and I don't remember which road happened first, but one is off of Georgia and one is off of Perimeter. So basically, this will be correcting, that second connection hasn't been paid yet, but it's part of this refund and rebill, if you will, of the 2 services. So that'll correct everything to date.
So who made the mistake in the first place?
I guess I don't know, or we don't know.
I'm not certain.
It was before we had the utility billing person that is there now, Melinda. Don't know if it was explained, you know, by somebody that was filling in there, that that's what you were supposed to do. We have the paperwork that indicates the amount, what we were, you know, told, or what they were told. But I mean, I would just be doing conjecture at this point. I wasn't, you know, we weren't all here at this time period. So, but this will correct it moving forward. And we are looking at to see if there was any other similar instances where this might be a problem.
Are we sure that this needs to be corrected? I mean, is there a mistake here? And who's saying that there's a mistake?
Yes, we are sure. And we have a report. If Mr. Freeman is still on the phone, we have the email from him as well.
Yeah, I'm still on. And another component of this one is that the site plan has been revised at least twice, if not 3 times, going from one 2-inch connection as what was put out there last year, and then going to, well, we're gonna do away with that 2-inch and make it just 1 4-inch, and then a third time coming back through that they moved to 2-inch. So it's bounced around a couple of different times, and then as Richard stated, there was the confusion also between an indirect and a direct connection, but we've got that all sorted out now. Conferred with Doug Moen as far as what's existing out on Perimeter and Georgia, as far as what they're able to connect to, and working with Eric in zoning. So I think we've got it all figured out. And as Ms. Richard and Mitch said, we're going back and reviewing a couple of other ones that were done just to make sure that those were done also properly. So
Do you think it's corrected, or you know it's corrected?
It is corrected now based on definition of indirect versus direct, and getting the actual prices for meters, meter pits, and then the appropriate method of reading the tables. So what you see in front of you is the corrected version, and that is the format and input will be used on future site developments.
Yeah, and I think this is Bill, just to add to that, Rick, you pretty well summed it up, but I think it needs to be pointed out that the original site plan that was brought to the Planning Commission, which we originally, and I think this is probably where the basis of the problem originated, was they originally were requesting a 4-inch water main. So the tap-in fee for a 4-inch water main is considerably more than a 2-inch. And so that's where part of the problem came in. And then there were these other indirect things that are involved. But this just came before the Planning Commission at our meeting this month on the 7th. And we officially approved the new site plan with the 2-inch water main tap-ins. And so everything should be good on this plan now. And I would move to approve these changes in fees.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, and I in the meantime, Mr. Mitchell has found the, sheet, shared on the screen for everybody to look at. So that is the email from Mr. Rowe that he was referencing. Mr. Rowe, sorry, Mr. Freeman from Rowe. Sorry about that, Rick.
Fine.
So we're going to take Mitch's advice and refund the total amount and then just re-invoice, correct?
Well,
That's
Mitch's
correct.
yeah, Mitch's advice was also that was a direction from the auditor on how they wanted us to do it.
That makes sense.
Okay. And the thought process is that we will have it'll be an exchange. We have the refund check that we'll be handing at the same time we're getting the check for the $11,395.92.
Okay, I'll have Jane write it tomorrow, if it passes.
Right, if that's okay with the, so that we don't have anybody.
Mr. Mitchell, just for a future work session, just to walk me through the rates for tap-ins for both water and sewer, I'd appreciate it very much.
At a future meeting? Sure.
Yeah, a future work session. Yeah.
And an explanation of the differences between said indirect and direct connections. I don't understand what the difference is.
Sure, we can email the ordinance in the meantime as well. That does have a definition there, but it is a little bit confusing, obviously. So, okay, is there a motion?
I believe Mr. Palmer already made it.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who that support was.
It was a tie.
Yeah,
Okay.
Maybe a tie
we'll give it to
between
Mr.
Josh
Westerberg.
and Steve.
Okay,
We'll give it to Steve.
all right. So we have a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcesterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes. Motion
I'm,
carried.
Point of order, I move to extend the meeting.
Support.
Yeah, okay, so motion by, I'm sorry, Mr. Spencer, support by
Me, Mr. Palmer.
Mr. Palmer, sorry. Just to extend the meeting, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcesterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards.
Yes, dang it, we almost made it. Okay,
Pretty
next
much.
on the agenda is public comments. Can do by show of a raised hand, if you have public comments. And sorry, I can't really scroll through names. My computer stalls out, so I can't really see. So if we could help Mr. Mitchell in looking for any raised hands.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, so.
I am not seeing any, but like I said, my screen's not going very well when I glance through.
Well, I don't see any on here,
Neither do I.
but there are a
Alright.
couple of phones that are on here, so I don't.
I don't know who those iPhones are or anything. I don't know if I guess, did we decide, are we supposed to click on each one of those, Mitch, and ask, do you have a comment, or just, I don't know. I think it said there's a public raise hand, or they can type, so you're supposed to actually be able to type in your comments in the chat function, but I guess you can't really do that with your phone unless it was a smartphone, right?
An iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
it just says iPhone.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Well, let's see if I can, I don't know if this will do anything.
Is there I'm showing that there's 8 chats. Is there?
The last chat I have, Kathy. Okay.
Probably 8 new messages.
Okay, apparently Kathy has her hand up. I don't see that, but for the water, need our
Okay.
water now? That would be Kathy.
Kathy, are you
I
able?
don't see that, but
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Hi. Yes, Kathy Woosterbarth again. And actually, I wanted to address the board regarding our the Need Our Water Now community action group activities. We continue to have our leadership focus meetings. Actually, our leadership group is growing. We have multiple members, including Craig Miner, who is a former B-52 pilot and had a family here at Wordsmith. We also have consulting with us Bob Delaney, who's the former site manager. Tony Spaniola continues to be in our leadership. Greg Cole, Mark Henry is also working with us. Myself, Bill Palmer is graciously agreed to continue to serve on our leadership team. And then Dave Wynn. So we meet on a bi-monthly basis about every 2 weeks. We're very active with the legislature and the media, with scientists, with the national group. We are also working with the governor's office and, looking at working with the incoming administration in the White House. So we are continuing to on our work, but it is definitely a concern of ours that we continue our work at the local level, because none of the legislators can do any of what they do without our support. And so we need to be able to bring them our community concerns and to be fully engaged, if not proactive, in the work that we do to remediate the PFAS from our area and to address the concerns of the community. So I bring this issue to the board, the new board, and I hope that you fully support your community members that are working very hard to continue the spotlight for Oscoda in this issue. Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for your commitment to that group, Kathy. I know you donate a lot of your time, so appreciate that. And everybody else. All right, any other public comment?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna kind of try to, is it Mariani? Do you wish to say anything? Oh, Mr. I believe it's down to Mr. Schultz, do you wish to say anything? I'm trying to unmute you as well if you need to.
I have no comment. This is Schultz.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for bearing with us. Let's see. I have just says guest. I'm going to click that to try to unmute them. I have guest. I'm going to try to unmute you in case you need to. Oh. iPad 2, which is Gregory Cole. I'm trying to unmute you as well if you wish to speak. And Jessica Hansen. Trying to unmute you as well if you wish to speak. John Bartha.
Hello. Back to normal. John Barta here. And No, things are going pretty good here. I don't think I have a comment. Thanks for asking.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Mary, I'm trying to click to allow you to unmute. And Ryan Mattis, clicking if you wish to unmute. And Mr. Dickerson, same. And then the one that says iPhone, make host, rename, put in. The only option I have for the one that says iPhone, it says ask to start video. That's the only option I can give them.
All right. I feel like we gave every effort we could. So
I've tried. Sorry.
well, that's all right. And again, it's a new process for all of us, and
Okay.
yep. I'm sure somehow if we did miss somebody and weren't able to, if you can, you can email or contact us, and we will respond to whatever your concern is or question. Or if you have a comment, we can get that to the rest of the board. So that being said, I think we could move on to board comments now. Do we have any board members that want to make comment?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
I just wanted to let everybody know that the tax bills have gone out and they've started coming back in. If you have not received your winter tax bill, to please contact our office. You can email us, you can call us because we're here. Drop us a little note in the Dropbox. We'll be happy to email you a bill back or mail out another copy for you. The treasurer's office, like Ann mentioned, by law, I need to be here one day between Christmas and New Year's. And as long as the restrictions don't change any further, we plan on being open the 28th, 29th, and 30th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for people to come in and pay their taxes, to pay their water bills, to get dog licenses, or any other type of function where we would need to take your money. That being said, I just want to wish all the entire board and your families, all of our public and our residents, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Jeremy, is that your comment? Or is that your board comment?
That is my official board comment to the citizens and fellow board members of this township. May it be merry and safe and all that fun stuff, and vid-free.
All right. Any other board comments?
Yeah, I would just like to add to Ms. McGuire's comments about wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know probably for a lot of us, this Christmas is going to be a little different than we normally have. I know a lot of us travel to go visit family and friends and whatnot, and that probably won't be doing that as much this year. But I know our family we're going to have a Zoom meeting. I can't get enough of these Zoom meetings, so we're going to have a family Zoom meeting at Christmas time. And, to get together that way. It's not what we'd like to do, but hopefully 2021 will be a new year with a new beginning and maybe some improvements. And, hopefully we can get back to meeting in person soon. So again, I just like to wish all the board members and all the public, everybody that's out there, I wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and everyone stay safe.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Board
I'd
comment?
like to concur with all those statements to the board and to the public. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and stay tuned. I think some good things are coming towards us in the near future.
Great.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Great, Josh, any comments?
Yeah, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
Okay, and I guess I'll just wrap it up by saying the exact same. Just want to thank everybody. We've had, a little rough start with some of these Zoom meetings with the new board and everything. I'll take responsibility for those, but we've pushed through it. And I'm very excited for the new year and everything coming up, and very appreciative of our community, and wish, the fellow board members a Merry Christmas and happy holidays and be safe. And to our community, our police department, our fire, everybody, thank you, DPW. Thank you for everybody being out there and continuing to make our community function during these very scary times. So very appreciative for that. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you all next year. So with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Or
Okay, motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Sutton to adjourn. Do we have to do roll call for that?
No.
No, okay, meeting adjourned. All right. Okay, see ya. Sorry for the mess ups tonight.
You're good.
We'll get it perfected for next year.
right.
Hopefully not.